Okay, so like I said, let's check out Monkey Fists. Monkey Fists is a conspiracy theorist that believes Trump is still the president in some way, shape, or form, and that Biden is faking it or something. Of course, that's not true. Joe Biden won the election, and Trump is, I think, hanging out at his resort in Florida. But let's see how this guy is coping.
So I want to mention a interesting story. A lot of strange things going on. You know, people got to see that everything surrounding Joe Biden is beyond strange. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't seem right. Where he's doing his press conferences,
AKA, it makes you sad and mad, therefore it doesn't make sense.
where is that place?
I don't know, probably some places in the White House or elsewhere if he's speaking somewhere else. The thing says, let's see, this one on the bottom right says the White House, so that's somewhere in the White House. That's a library a little bit there, probably somewhere in the White House. 50 million COVID vaccinations. This also looks like it's at the White House based on the stuff in the back. And probably this is in the White House too. The White House has a lot of rooms.
Why is he the first president to use this, what is it? Where is it? Why is his...
I don't think he's the first person to use these rooms. I think the like, things that they put behind him, I think those are probably new.
press secretary and him never in the same location at the same time.
I could probably find that, but I wouldn't... Hold on. Joe Biden and press secretary. I imagine they discuss things together, but I wouldn't necessarily expect to see them in the same place because usually she's off giving the press briefings and answering questions, and meanwhile Joe Biden is off doing president shit. I assume they have meetings occasionally, like once a week or something, to kind of get on the same page and maybe talk about any issues, but why would they be in the same room at the same time in front of the press? Because if she's there, then she's there to answer questions for the administration, but if he's there, then that's what he'd probably be doing. It's just redundant. Where did it go? I lost the tab. There we go.
Why on Inauguration Day was he denied a government plane to Washington, D.C.?
Oh, I talked about this. I think it's because Donald Trump was butthurt, and he probably had to authorize it, considering Biden wasn't the president yet at the time, not until noon on January 20th. So I think Trump just didn't let them send him one. Also, if Trump and his people have been on not just Air Force One, but I imagine other government planes, I probably wouldn't want to fly on it either till it got a deep clean.
Why was the troops turning their back on him?
Ah, that's actually a good question. That was something that came up with, like, Q people, too, because during Biden's walk to the White House and his trip to the White House after he got inaugurated, there were troops that were there that were, like, you know, saluting him and stuff, and then there were other troops that had their back turned to him. So a bunch of conspiracy theorists were like, oh, they're turning their back to the commander-in-chief. They're showing their disrespect. He must really not be president. No. What happens is they're there to guard him, but also some of them are there to salute. So there are specific ones whose job it is to, when the president goes by, they salute him or whatever. And there's also ones who look the other direction because they're there to guard the president, so they need to be keeping an eye on the surroundings.
By the way, the being refused a plane, that's the first president-elect ever on Inauguration Day not flying a government plane.
Yeah, because Trump didn't give him one, because Trump's a sore loser man baby.
From their home to D.C. The first time ever. This is the leader of the free world. You want him in the most...
He wasn't at this point. Trump was. And Trump, being a child, refused to send a plane for him.
The most safest transportation on the planet. And yet his first trip to Delaware, after becoming president. Again, not on Air Force One. I don't know what that was. That wasn't Air Force Two either. That was some old airplane they were riding back in the 50s.
That looked like a...
Why is he on Air Force One?
I don't know what Air Force One looks like off the top of my head, so I can't analyze that.
Again, this is the leader of the free world, the most important.
Weren't they like redoing or refitting Air Force One recently? I could be wrong, but I thought they were doing something with it.
One of the most important people on this planet. And yet, he's flying some other plane. He's not
Trump redid it. Gotcha.
allowed to use a call sign.
Fun fact, someone told me this the other day. Any plane that the president is on is Air Force One. By definition, it's the call sign for the plane the president's on. So the second Biden gets on a plane and it takes off, it's Air Force One.
First Air Force One. A lot of strange things. You know, he didn't have access to the Pentagon right away.
That's also untrue.
The Capitol is completely shut down. Like there's nobody there, it seems.
Still COVID restrictions, and also for quite a while there was really high security. It might still be there to some extent, I don't really know, because a bunch of idiots tried to kill members of Congress. I don't know if you remember. It was a pretty big historical event that happened this year in January.
It's like a ghost town. You know, the White House was 10 days of darkness when they first right after election. It's never happened. His first trip to Delaware,
let's see, that plane, C-32, military passenger transport of the United States Air Force, for C-32A, provide transportation for the United States leaders to locations around the world. Primary users are the Vice President of the United States and the First Lady. It's often call signed Air Force 2. So presumably, the plane that is typically Air Force 1 was getting some maintenance or something done. Who knows what they were doing to it, so they just put him on what is typically Air Force 2. That took 5 seconds for someone to Google.
Suburban that picked him up from the airport, it looked like something they picked up off a car lot, and they scrubbed the internet out. You can't even find it.
No, it didn't. I just saw it. You just showed it. It looked like a car, an SUV, that they've definitely outfitted with bulletproof shit. And all sorts of stuff.
If you can find the video, love to see it again. And it didn't look like Secret Service there. And all the people surrounding him do not look like Secret Service. And why are the military not wearing pins? I mean, these are questions that it all looks strange. It all looks like he's not the president. That he's pretending to be a president.
He's doing a really good job considering he signed executive orders and bills and those things have come to pass. So he's doing a really good job.
I put a video up here a few weeks ago and the White House, the windows, out the back of the windows. That's not what it looked like when Trump was in office. It looks like he's not in the real White House. And there's other videos where
I like the idea that they'd go to the effort to make a fake White House, but then no one considered what the outside of the windows looked like. I like that in conspiracies, they're both all powerful, but also incredibly stupid.
Crack going down the that looks like partitions, like a.
It's this one. It's a door. You dumb motherfucker. It's a door. That's a door that's been in the White House for fucking ever. How have you never seen enough of the White House that you don't know that they have doors in the Oval Office that don't look like doors, that look like they're part of the wall? This is like a known thing. And you're like, oh, is it walls of the set coming apart? No, it's a door. It's a door. It would take you 5 seconds to look this up.
A studio. A crack right down the wall. It's outrageous. And again, Your eyes are useless if your mind is blind. If you're not willing to see this, that's why people need to wake up. This was the most popular president ever, but yet you go on.
No, he's not. They always use that. I've never seen a single person on the left claim Joe Biden is the most popular president ever. He got the most votes because this election had the most voters of any election ever. And people hate Donald Trump, at least a good portion of people. Luckily, more people than like him. So Biden won the election. It's not that he's more popular, he just happens to be more popular than Trump. And then he points out these things, like the White House briefings having a ton of downvotes, even though it's entirely because whenever the White House posts anything, I go on, like, the Great Awakening .win and stuff because I like to keep track of conspiracy theorists, and also like patriots.win, and I swear to God they'll just like post like the White House put out a new video, you know what to do, and these slacktivist losers will go and like, yeah, I downvoted a White House YouTube video, I showed Joe Biden who probably doesn't even know how the internet works.
His on the White House YouTube page. Go on the White House YouTube page. Every single video except one. Every single video except one has more dislikes than likes. And we're not talking about a little. We're talking sometimes like tens of thousands of dislikes to the hundreds of likes.
Cool. Biden got like 7 million more votes than Trump, though, so I think I'll take that.
There's only one video, and that's with him and his wife, and I have no clue what it's about, but it is only one video in all of that. And I had to go through every single one because, you know, if I wouldn't have found that one video, someone would have been like, nope, there's a video right here. There's one video. And this was as a few days ago or a week ago. It's unbelievable. This man got
yeah, they're still coping. The cope is not going to stop.
More votes than Obama, than anybody ever, supposedly. And yet the White House page has more dislikes. I mean...
yeah, because all the liberals went back to brunch. And I don't really give a shit what Biden has to say in his long, like, meandering, random, like, neoliberal white guy speeches. I don't really care. So I don't watch that shit. Unless, like, it's part of an article or something and it's, like, a truncated version, but...
look at his inauguration, you know, the views on that. Like 10,000. Some horrible YouTubers get more than that. This is the President of the United States. Again, when you're trying to lead the American people that everybody in America voted for this man...
Biden's inauguration had better ratings than Trump's, so...
you got to do better than that. Again, I did a lot of research since I've been off.
That's my research said by not a researcher on the bingo card.
And what I've found is just... it's insane. It is absolutely insane. But you know what? The information is there if you just want to see it. And half of us know. We already know the information. We already know that the CIA controls all the media. And if you don't know that, Operation Mockingbird. Again, everything that we've been taught is a lie. Everything. Everything. They have technologies that they haven't disclosed to the American people. There are things that we don't even know about ourselves. There are things we don't know about our world. There are things we don't know in our solar system.
There's a lot of things we don't know as a species. That's okay. You don't have to get so scared about it that you start constructing maddening conspiracy theories to try and explain away our lack of knowledge. We're doing our best.
I mean, it's outrageous. But if you don't know what some of this stuff is, go look at Operation Mockingbird. Go look at Operation Prism, where they collected every single person's data. Every single person's data And here's the scary part. Here's what people don't realize. They literally designed, the military designed a psychological operation that was meant for foreign countries, not for America. And the people that invented this system, and this system is very scary, they are able to, with the information of the locals of whatever country they go to, doesn't matter where, it used to be a room full of people doing it, now it's AI. But with collecting all of your data, your locations, your GPS, your conversations, everything you've bought, I mean, they know so much, they know things about you you don't even know about you. They would go over to a country, they would infiltrate it using fear, your own guilt, your own horror stories that have happened to you, everything. Again, they use all that. Embarrassment, things you don't even know that anybody else knows. And they have a way to manipulate people. The only way I can explain it is like back when Saddam Hussein's statue was coming down, they displayed this crowd of people, made it seem like there was thousands of people there when there wasn't. There was only a couple hundred people there, and most of the people there were U.S. military dressed up in street clothes and media. It was propaganda to push out that this was what was happening over there. And they played it on, CNN like every 6.5 minutes and Fox News every 4.4 minutes to persuade the way we think. That media, it is lying, it is corrupt, and it is run by a corrupt group of people. The CIA, NSA, all of them are behind it. And it's to trick our minds, persuading us, again, using our own fears against us. But the people, again, that made that system came back stateside and realized they were using it on the American people. Go look at the research. A lady by the name of Emily Brandt, she wrote a paper on it called Pentagon Jiu-Jitsu, Reshaping the Field of Propaganda. And here's the thing. They made it legal in 2012. Obama made it legal to use propaganda against the American citizens. Media is allowed.
Wait, do you think the American government didn't start using propaganda against American citizens until 2012? Oh boy. No one showed this guy literally anything about the military prior to 2012. Military recruitment.
To use propaganda on us.
Yeah, Vietnam.
So
the war on terror. Claiming there were like WMDs in in the Middle East. World War II.
Let's go back to 16 election. Remember Russia collusion. Putin helped Trump get elected. Remember all that? Again, we never once, after 4 years of investigations, found out anything on Trump being related to this. We know by...
Oh, look, another person who didn't actually read the Mueller report, but claims that it exonerated the president. Hooray.
Snowden, that the NSA and CIA were collecting every single person's data. That Obama had to do something with all this data collection because it was over data collection. They were collecting everything on everyone. And they had to get rid of it. They had to do something with it because it was too much. If Trump was dirty, they would have found everything out on him. They wouldn't have tried using the honeypot, trying to set him up in 2016, 2015, using the that Cambridge Analytica. He refused it multiple times. If he would have accepted their help, they could have got him on foreign affairs, meddling in the election. But he refused it.
He was literally named as individual one in an indictment of his personal lawyer for doing literally that.
Every single piece of evidence on him. They didn't find one single thing. And they had all the dirt on everybody. You got to think about this. If they're surveillancing U.S. citizens, including...
Surveilling. The word would be surveilling, not surveillancing.
Trump, but yet they didn't find anything on him? The reality is, this man worked for free. For 4 years, he didn't accept a single penny, not one single dime. He followed through on almost every single promise he made to the American people. One of the first presidents to ever, everything he said on the campaign trail, turn around and do it during his election.
Remember when Mexico paid for the border wall and then it got completed? Oh, then none of that happened? Cool. Just checking.
He did that even with the mainstream media, Hollywood.
Remember when Hillary Clinton got arrested? Lock her up. No? Remember when all the coal jobs came back? Oh, they're doing worse than ever? Cool. Is the swamp drained yet?
Every news network, everybody was against him. And yet, he worked for free. 3 hours a night of sleep, because he was tweeting. But whatever. That's commitment. And yet they didn't find one single thing on it. Why did they go after him so hard? Because maybe the same system that they were able to get all the information on every single person in the United States? Well, maybe Trump was able to get the dirt on them. It makes a lot more sense why they were against him and had everybody else. Why they went after him all day, all night. It was relentless.
Because he's a shitty person and potentially a worse president, depending on your bar for the presidency, I guess.
Single thing he did was wrong. And it makes sense. Again, this shit's all documented. There's proof of every single thing I'm saying.
I won't provide any of it, but it's out there.
Paper that was written explains how in 2009 to 2012, how they were able to use this psychological warfare against the American people. How running candidates used this system to win the election. And who was that? Obama. It's kind of funny that McCain's campaign manager was a general who became Obama's attorney general, who later went to start a company called Dynology or whatever, or Clear Force. There were so many of them, to the highest bidder. Anybody that wanted this information on anybody. Pre-employment screenings, you name it. Or rig election. Can't even make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. But here it is. I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm the crazy one. And look at everything that's happening with Joe Biden. Here's a prediction. Here very shortly, Biden's going to either come down with some illness, or maybe they'll finally let out his dementia, or maybe they'll use the 25th Amendment on him. They've already dropped that breadcrumb. But something in the next few weeks to next few months, they are going to kick Joe Biden out of the White House.
Okay. If they did for legitimate reasons, like he actually had mental issues or physical issues, great. That's why you have a vice president when you do an election, in case something like that happens.
And Kamala Harris is going to be the president of the United States of America. Can't even make this stuff up.
Okay.
Look at all the details.
She's the vice president, so yeah, that's how that works.
Look at the facts. Look at where he's doing his little press conferences from. Or the fact that Kamala Harris is doing most of the phone calls to foreign leaders. Which doesn't normally happen. Again, doesn't normally happen. But he's a puppet, and there's puppet masters pulling the strings. And if you can't see this now, you can't even see the fact that this was rigged against you. This wasn't your candidate. We are living in the Matrix. Everything we were told is a lie. Go look at Operation Paperclip. Go look at that Pentagon Jiu-Jitsu, Smith and Munn, the modernization of 2012. That's where they were allowed to use propaganda on the American people. It was the ability to disseminate false information to the American citizen. But this has got to make you think. If the CIA is controlling the media and NSA and the powers above us, then can you really trust anything the news said? And if you look back over the last 4 years, it makes a lot of sense how 1 minute you think he's getting impeached and the next minute he's not impeached. And then there's
He did get impeached. He didn't get convicted by the Senate. These are different things.
Some porn star that comes forward, and this is it. This is the bombshell. Walls are closing in. He's becoming agitating. He's separating himself from people around him. I mean, these stories were every day of every week of every month.
Yeah, he did a lot of bad shit.
and nothing happened. Look at even when they just bombed Syria or wherever, and the fact that Biden said he didn't know they were doing it, and neither did Kamala Harris. Again, who's running this show?
Joe Biden did not say he was unaware. Kamala, I think the story was that she wasn't aware, but Biden was aware.
Why is Washington dead?
COVID.
Why is there nobody in Washington? What is going on? I mean, that just came out the other day. The Pentagon lost like $9.5 trillion or $6.5 trillion. They have no clue where it went. And yet, like in 2019, there was something like $21 trillion missing that was unaccounted for.
Oh, so they're getting better. That's nice.
Wake up. We are being lied to, and again, we're just accepting it. I believe here soon they're already starting to disclose about aliens, but
God damn it. That's aliens on the bingo card.
I think they're going to use that as a false flag next. They're going to use aliens or something, because they don't really want to let that information out, but there's information leaking out about these deep underground military bases, these deep underground or under ocean bases, alien life forms, technologies that the American people don't know that we already have, that we've had since the 30s. Supposedly there's some treaty with the aliens. I know it sounds crazy and all that stuff, but this stuff is coming out. It's been declassified.
Really?
The CIA just like a week ago admitted to extraterrestrial life and UFO.
You did win, by the way, Innsmouth. So congrats. I'll write your name down. Innsmouth swim team. Why don't they talk about Elvis anymore? Because people who are conspiracy theorists nowadays didn't grow up listening to Elvis, so they don't care.
Go watch Dr. Richard Greer, Grear. Go watch his videos. He was the guy that that debriefed every president since it was like Carter or Clinton. He's debriefed every president since one of those presidents on UFOs. I mean, we have their technology. Again, they've admitted this.
UFOs doesn't mean aliens. UFOs means unidentified flying objects. And much like UFOs in the 40s and 50s turned out to be experimental aircraft that the military was testing that civilians spotted every once in a while, I imagine a lot of UFO sightings today are probably the same. The Air Force is definitely still trying to invent new scary ways of killing people from the air. I imagine they get spotted from time to time in these experimental planes or whatever. Gets called UFOs. He's publicly stated and showed documents that we've had this technology, we've had flying saucers, and that most of the flying saucers are the U.S. government. Okay, let me be clear on this. Air Force flying saucer. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of the test flights of the flying saucer things. It goes badly. There's a reason they didn't continue to develop this technology, let me put it that way. They're not the most stable method of vertical liftoff and landing.
Research Center to prove the effects of these modifications with a short flight test program at Avro to establish that the hovering capability had not deteriorated. A brief terrain test program was later added. The modifications provided for aft deployment of the peripheral jet sheet from the wing tip for transition and
So this is like a known
Jet
thing. It just
configuration.
never really worked correctly. And I think they
It was
ended up
now
deciding to focus more on like developing helicopters and stuff, which was probably the right move, all things considered.
To make us look crazy when we say we've seen a flying saucer. I mean, they literally had a campaign back in like the 50s or 60s, or maybe it was later on, but they were showing TV shows and movies about aliens, kind of making fun of it. So when people talked about it, it was a joke. People were laughed at. People were embarrassed. They changed our minds. Again, they use everything against us. They use our minds against us. They use our minds against each other. Why do you think we have race wars going on right now? They don't want us to realize one thing.
Probably continued systemic racism. That's probably part of it.
That we're all Americans and that we're all humans. We're all mankind. Doesn't matter about skin color. Skin color doesn't matter. But they want to make that a point.
I would agree that it shouldn't matter. I don't think anyone or their value or who they are is determined based on the color of their skin. But, unfortunately, we live in a world where there are people who do care about the color of other people's skin, and it affects people because of that prejudice. So you need to recognize that prejudice, while it might not exist for you, and I hope it doesn't, it does exist for other people in society who make decisions and end up hurting other people based on those prejudices. So we should be able to do something to mitigate that and keep people from being harmed because of the color of their skin. It's that simple. It's not a conspiracy. It's just the recognition that there are people who not only are prejudiced, but then use their power to apply that prejudice in a negative way towards people.
So that we have something to separate us, something to divide us, so they can conquer us. I've said this in other videos. Divided, we fall. Together, we conquer. They don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know this stuff. And if you knew what else they were hiding from you, I mean, again, I don't want to be called a quack right out of the gate, but
we're way past that. Let's be real. So, you missed that boat.
a lot of stuff is starting to come to light, and it's a scary world out there. The androchrome, I mean, it's just...
He can't even pronounce adrenochrome correctly.
In one of my next videos, I'm going to talk about that, but the story goes, a guy ordered a bunch of USBs from Amazon, and one of them were open, and he was going to return it, and then he decided to look what's on it, and what he found on it was just the most disgusting thing he could think he could ever find, and that was a company that was operating just like any other company, extracting androchrome from kids.
And he just found this on a random USB? What?
Kids between the ages of 9 and like 14 or whatever, and how they got it, and basically you have to scare them until they're fear of death, and it's an adrenaline dump being released into the bloodstream, and it's the oxidation of that into the blood, and then it's extracted from the body.
Again, I talked to Baha about this because her major ended up being, and she's a fourth-year PhD student, fourth-year PhD candidate in developmental genetics, but she also, I think she minored in, or almost had enough credits to double major in chemistry, so she knows about chemistry, and I asked her about this a while back, and she explained, if you did want adrenochrome, which is a real thing, but, if you wanted it, you could trivially have it produced in a lab for very cheap. Much cheaper than if you were to do whatever weird stuff this guy is saying. So, it makes no sense to torture children for adrenochrome when if you're rich, you can get as much synthesized as you wanted in a lab somewhere.
And apparently it gets people really high, and it gets them, it's like the fountain of youth, and if you see people...
That's untrue. It's not.
people that were on it, and just a month later they were no longer on it, they look like they aged 20 years.
No. Adrenochrome does not do that. It will get you high, but I've heard, from what I've read, it's awful and a nightmare. It's not a fun kind of high. It's like you injected yourself with a bunch of byproducts of adrenaline. Weird.
Half of Hollywood was on this. I mean, why do you think they kicked Mel Gibson out of Hollywood?
Because of the anti-Semitism. Because of the anti-Semitism.
Because he said that. He said they're not just raping kids, they're murdering them and drinking their blood. And I know how crazy it sounds, but go look at Isaac Cappy. He was a small-time actor in Hollywood. He exposed Seth Green. And in one of his last videos on Twitter, he says, "I do not feel suicidal. I am not going to kill myself." And then he's pushed off a bridge in a spot that Tom Hanks had a photo of a glove at. That seemed like a hit. But he was exposing all of Hollywood.
Tom Hanks took a photo of a glove here. It's pretty sus.
It was the most expensive currency. Well, this paperwork supposedly that was on this USB drive shows all these kids, where they were from, how productive they were they suicidal. If they were suicidal, they had to ramp up production, which ramp up production means torturing them. They lived for about 9 months to 2 years, and then they disposed of them. And that there was even an internal memo that said the disposal site number 6 has to be better than it is, because you can start to see it from Google Map, and a fence isn't going to do it, so someone needs to take care of that. And all this paperwork is in there. It was documented, hundreds and hundreds of documents.
Weird that never surfaced then. It's almost like that guy just made up a weird story about finding a USB drive with clear evidence on it that he apparently never produced for anyone else. That's kind of weird, huh? Reminds me a little bit of the Joseph Smith thing. Like, ooh, the golden plates, they're in the hat, but you can't see them.
It was all on typewriter, so it was harder to figure out where it was coming from. And it was a corporation. And apparently it had locations where they were operating at, and names of children of each state that they were going to take.
When I'm a secret evil organization that's literally so cartoonishly evil that they torture children to make their products, I usually put all the damning evidence all on one flash drive. That's usually a good move. Someone said compartmentalization is a good thing, and I say no. Put it all on black. If anyone finds this USB, we're all screwed. Someone called Tom Hanks. He needs to take a picture of a glove.
This is a story I heard back last I heard this story. And then I saw the story again. And then I found the documents. And I downloaded them. And I'll tell you right now, it's
all right, let's look at these bullshit documents that this person photoshopped. CYM, Caring Group. Caring is youth. Youth is money. Money is freedom. If this were like a prop for a movie, I'd be like, all right, guys, tone it down. The cartoonishly evil people can't be this cartoonishly evil. That their motto is youth is money and money is freedom. That's nice. They put the chemical formula for adrenochrome just on the front page. So you definitely know what this is about. RE. Other research and experimental development on natural sciences and engineering. Sir, please find enclosed our confidential new detainee and production reports as follows. Rep number 1. Production of raw adrenochrome per detention center with average age of detainees. Rep 2. List of detainees used for production, duration of custody, and scheduled disposal date. A valuable source for quality research. Note that Cole, SUIC, only states suicide attempts. A finished suicide would appear in the disposal report, not enclosed. So let's see. 100 milligrams are $1,920 per milligram. See, that's so cheap. It would take so long to, like, kidnap children and, like, torture them for 9 months or 2 years, and then you're only going to charge $2,000 per milligram of your A to A plus grade adrenochrome? I feel like they're probably cutting this adrenochrome with something. This is not high quality adrenochrome, okay? It's starting to rain.
Scariest thing I've ever seen.
Please note, check or cash in advance. Checks made payable to the to the CYM Corp. So you can write a personal check for this. It's not, you don't buy it in Bitcoin or anything that would make sense for a secretive underground drug. You write a personal check. Or money order. So that's good. What about, do you accept travel checks? Just curious.
Seen. It's unbelievable. If somebody is live role playing with this or making it up,
it's that one. It's made up.
There's no way they could make this up.
Why? Why do you think they couldn't make this up? It's so clearly made up. What about this rings anything other than false to you?
There is no way they can make up this many documents. Again, I have downloaded it. I have it. I have found it.
Okay? Someone made it up. People make up weird shit to support their conspiracy theories online and to troll people like you. You fell for the bait. Congratulations.
And it is the scariest thing. They sell this stuff for...
I have the government documents. This guy wishes he could be as good as Neil Breen at hacking into government systems, okay? For the record, no one will ever be as good as, Neil Breen, okay? I just happen to have this sitting next to me.
Like $1,900 a milligram. A milligram. Minimum you have to buy 100 milligrams. That's almost $200,000.
Well, then they should probably list the price at 100 milligrams. It wouldn't really make sense. If you gotta buy 100 anyway, why are you selling it and pricing it at the milligram when you need at minimum 100? That doesn't make sense.
I mean, again, you can't make this stuff up. This is stuff we've known for 1,000 years. They've been talking about drinking blood.
Yeah, it was called blood libel. It was also a ridiculous conspiracy theory then. And it was an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that basically said Jewish people drink the blood of children. Not true, obviously. This is all bullshit that gets made up by people who hate other groups of people to try and demonize them in the worst way possible.
But this is coming out. Why is this coming out now?
Because you're being manipulated by people online into believing cult mentality bullshit.
Why with Jeffrey Epstein was this stuff starting to come out?
That would be thinly veiled anti-Semitism on the bingo card, yes.
Again, it sounds crazy. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but again,
it is.
Again, I downloaded them.
I downloaded documents, and no one puts fake things on the internet. One time, I downloaded a paper that said, the sky is green, actually, all the time. And that's how I know the sky is never blue. The internet wouldn't lie to me. What would they stand to gain?
I have them. 100. It's scary. It's scary stuff, what's going on. But people need to open their eyes and realize that there's so much more going on than we even know. This is way longer than I wanted it to be. But please, do your research. Research some of the things I've mentioned. Open your eyes, because this is where we're at right now. A couple years ago, I was talking about the Great Reset and Agenda 21 and the New World Order. And
how'd that all work out for you?
Everybody was dismissing it. But you're now seeing this in mainstream. Time just had an article on the Great Reset. They're talking about Agenda 21. The Justin Trudeau talked about it just a few months ago. It's here. It's live. It's now. If we don't wake up, we already proved that they could do whatever they want to us. They scared us. We put on masks. We stayed in our homes. We did everything that they wanted. Here now. Your eyes are useless if your mind is blind. Anyways, my name is Zach. Please like, share, subscribe, share it. Please do your own research. That's all I'm saying. Don't take my word for it. Go do your own research. Anyways, thanks.
God damn, that guy's gullible. It's a shame. I hope he comes back to reality at some point, but I kinda doubt it.